Welcome to the School of Love, the place where miracles are normal. Hello and welcome to the School of Love, the place where we learn practical tools based on scientific research and our own experiences towards improving ourselves, living life to its fullest, and contributing to the best of our abilities to the world around us. I'm Dr. Maria Grajdian. In my free time, I am doing my best to guide you in building up a life of contentment, joy, and fulfillment while applying lessons learned in school to overcome the difficulties, challenges, and insecurities of the real world. Today's video is part of a new series on the changing world order and its impact on regular citizens like you and me. I have been reading Ray Dalio's book Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order, published initially in November 2021, and it made me ponder on what it means for regular citizens like you and me that the entire world is undergoing dramatic changes which we cannot influence at all, but which are crucially impacting our own lives and the future. In today's video on the changing world order and its impact on regular citizens like you and me, I share my thoughts on social status and the manner in which the concept and the phenomenon of social status is changing itself under the pressure on individuals to continuously challenge and reinvent themselves. Enormously long life expectancies, unimaginable less than 4 or 5 decades ago, bring with them particular questions and preoccupations which have a huge influence on social status. So what precisely is happening and how can we as individuals deal with what is going on? So as individuals and as a collective. So what precisely is happening and what can we as individuals and as a collective do about it? This video explores this question on a personal level. So how does the concept and the phenomenon of social status change when the entire world is changing around us? So let's go back a little bit in time. So historical perspective helps always, and see what has social status meant up to today and for the past decades or centuries. So social status was essentially the position of an individual or the position of a family within the larger context. And it was mostly determined by money and so what they call by capital and by possessions, so land possessions, real estate. And later on, so since the French Revolution, I would say, so since the 18th century, so second half of the 18th century, the so-called social capital has been developing. This is a term from Pierre Bourdieu and refers, for instance, to intellectuals. So people like me who we are not wealthy in the classical sense, so we don't have lots of money or lots of real estate possessions, but for that we have a lot of knowledge and highly marketable skills and are very highly educated, but highly educated meaning that I can earn money with my educational, based on my educational background and educational upbringing. It's not only about graduating from a university or gaining a PhD and actually not knowing what to do with that. This is something I warn my students and my children about, is that having a certificate of graduation, having a diploma, doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean absolutely anything. In the past, and in some societies, I don't want to get into detail, but in some societies, having some sort of degree guarantees that you get some job. But usually these societies, or the jobs you might get in those societies, just having a diploma, are not so satisfactory as in those societies where actually the skills count. And you might have a diploma or a certificate of graduation or both or whatever, but if you don't have the skills, if you just, let's say, pay for that and went through the educational system without getting anything out of it, you are unemployable afterwards. These are highly capitalist societies in which really the skills, the abilities of someone count much more than the formal education. And me being an individualist as I am, I'm very much on the side of so-called meritocracy. So you must be able to do something, regardless of your background, regardless of your family, regardless of your name, regardless of your marital status. What is important is that you can do something, that you can produce, that you can contribute in some manner to the society at large, to those around you. This is meritocracy, where the merits of someone's existence, of someone's work, of someone's labor, of someone's involvement actually count, and not the position or the wealth of his or her family, the connections, the relationships, the networking, his or her networking abilities. Nowadays, there is also the saying that your net worth is your network. I'm very doubtful about that. So it's important to be well networked, but it has to be some authentic network, because if you only go to the so-called networking events and exchange plenty of business cards, and you actually do not really belong there, or you do it for just formally, and you cannot manage to connect to any of the participants or to connect with the humans in your life on a regular basis, then you have a problem. So networking has really its limitations, at least in my opinion. And I believe that this idea of status, social status, or status generally speaking, being based on your background, on where you're coming from, which then will help you networking with the right person, so to say, will change more and more. We'll see more and more people emerging from the various strata of society, many of them with no financial background, who make it to the top. So maybe not to the one top, but to the 5% top. So not the 1% top, but the 5% to the 10% top. So those people who actually can live a good, comfortable life without worrying about next year. And we'll experience this more and more. And the reason for that is that the world is changing, and what was considered old money, and which has been keeping an iron fist on the mechanisms of the world, they are losing their power, because of globalization. But nowadays globalization is slowly moving backwards, because people are tired. People are tired of having to compete with on a global level without actually knowing what is expecting of them. I don't believe that globalization will go back, or deglobalization will become so strong that we'll have this national atomization as it happened throughout modernity and until nowadays, that deglobalization has started. But the way I see the world, it will turn into from one big global village into several smaller communities, into a polycentric world, into a world with a couple of centers, which hopefully, and this is what our goal is for the next generation, is which will hopefully learn to deal with each other without constantly fighting each other. I am a strong believer that there are enough resources in the universe for everyone to live in abundance, not in excess, but in abundance. And we only have to learn to deal with ourselves so that we do not consume this amount of energy and resources on fighting each other instead of supporting each other. And we don't have to support each other. We can at least leave each other alone. Yeah. So I'm a very strong supporter and promoter of this idea of learning to the best out of what we have now, while being observant of the tendencies in the world and of the shifts underneath the social surface, so that we can play a role into manifesting the benevolent, the good, the beneficial shifts into future reality, and well, not really suppressing the detrimental shifts, but at least being prepared for them and then knowing how to deal with them when they do manifest themselves. So I don't believe it is possible to have a world, a fully peaceful world in which everybody's living in perfect harmony. I don't think that. I think this is utopia, and utopia means in itself a place which does not exist. But I believe we can contribute to creating a world in which our children, the next generation, will feel safer and more welcome, instead of constantly fighting with other humans, which at the end of the day have the same right of living on this beautiful planet. So I hope I have delivered some insights, and I hope we can kickstart a conversation on this topic, on what the future will bring. Thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I'm looking forward to welcoming you very soon. Again, love and peace to you all.